As we come on the air with you today, first responders are again at locations where more people, more boats are coming ashore this morning in Hallandale Beach and in the Keys. Also, as we speak, President Biden is in the air en route to the southern border days after announcing dramatic policy change that boils down to this: Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans who cross the border without legal process are turned around. And for those who use legal processes, more and smoother opportunities. Left unsaid whether the hundreds of Cubans and Haitians making it by sea to South Florida shores in the last few weeks will face that same fate. This is live video you're looking at from Hallandale Beach. That vessel right there was discovered on shore within the last few hours. We are waiting to see whether the people who might have been on that boat are okay and where they are. You see the response right now, and we will get to that. These drone images are from the Keys, where right now they are dealing with 2 landings just within the last few hours. A year-long surge there has peaked this week, with hundreds of people making it almost daily landings in the neighborhoods there. That sets up our hour together here. And right now, Janine Stanwood, right there in the Keys, has been all week on the front lines of that response. And Janine, you are already busy there this morning.
Already busy this morning, Glenna. In fact, this is the Border Patrol station here in Marathon. They have been busy here as well. And you said it, that's right. This morning, already 2 landings here in the Florida Keys, about 50 migrants coming to shore. And you know, after the governor's announcement the other day about sending state resources here, we were wondering, when will we start seeing that? I can tell you the time is now. Let's go to video from just a short time ago. This is more of that drone video that you were looking at. This is a group of about 25 migrants that landed in a remote island in Marathon. Border Patrol on scene, but take a look. For the first time, we also now see state troopers. That was the case at another landing this morning in Key Largo. I am told another approximately 25 people landed there, and state troopers were there as well. I'm told at least one of those troopers was from Miami-Dade. We can tell you that the feds, they're also beefing things up. Let's show you some pictures. This is the chief of Border Patrol for the Miami sector. This is Walter Slozar. He met yesterday right here in Marathon with the head of Special Ops, Operations Support. Border Patrol is telling us that they are bringing in more special ops staff and more medical personnel. And another photo actually shows this is a very South Florida thing. These are wave runners. More of them will be deployed so that agents can go to migrants in shallow or remote areas. You're wondering, gosh, I've never seen a Border Patrol agent on a wave runner or a jet ski. I can tell you we have been on one of those as they have rescued migrants here in the Middle Keys. Glenna, let's come back out live. As you have said, this has been quite a week here in the Florida Keys. The question is, what more are we going to see? There is going to be a meeting this Monday morning in Marathon, 11:30. State, local, and federal authorities will be meeting to discuss this plan, how they will coordinate, and hopefully we will learn more then. Of course, we'll be there.
And Janine, you'll be back later this hour along with Hatzel Vela. We'll get into a lot more of this later on. Right now, a little bit more about why we may be seeing those state resources in the Keys late Friday. The governor issued an executive order activating Florida's National Guard to assist Monroe County, declaring a state of emergency and naming the point person for that, Kevin Guthrie, Florida's Director of Emergency Management. Director Guthrie is right here with us live today. Director, great to have you aboard this morning. I know you are so busy. We are grateful for your time.
Thank you for having us this morning. Appreciate it.
So you've made quite the pivot. You are still in the throes of hurricane recovery around the state. Set up for us now. I know we're still in the weekend. You just got the orders. What is this operation going to look like? What are your marching orders in the Keys?
So as you mentioned, the governor has designated me as the state coordinating officer. So my job is not to be the command and control piece. That's going to be more for law enforcement and the National Guard, but I am the coordination piece. So I am helping the agencies that are responding to this incident. I'm coordinating that. So at Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission, Florida Highway Patrol, as you mentioned in the top of the segment, Florida National Guard, also Department of Children's and Families and the Florida Department of Health for their offices of refugee help. So those agencies, in conjunction with Florida Division of Emergency Management, our primary role is going to be providing logistics to those aforementioned agencies as they get up and running and set up shop there in the Keys, and then literally throughout pretty much the southeastern portion of Florida, as you mentioned this morning, the Hallandale Beach situation. So this is not just a Keys issue. It's going to be, we've had a landing a couple of weeks ago as far north as Port Canaveral. So this is going to be a statewide approach, and we'll respond to it as we need to throughout the state.
You know, I'm glad you bring that up because the executive order, we actually have the governor's executive order on our website for whoever wants to read that and has not. But one of the things that the executive order says is that this is likely to constitute a major disaster, and the governor declared then a state of emergency for the whole state, to your point, the whole state of Florida. You know, our viewers, we are a South Florida station, and we have viewers from Boca to Key West, and we have people watching who may be in cities like Parkland or Miami Gardens. Set up for us, Director, if you will, how does this constitute an emergency for the whole state, for the whole of South Florida?
So the Florida Division of Emergency Management is the lead agency for the state of Florida when it comes to coordinating and intersecting with the U.S. Coast Guard. And you've heard Brendan McPherson, Admiral for Coast Guard District 7. He is the commanding officer for what's referred to as Homeland Security Task Force Southeast. The Florida Division of Emergency Management and all the agencies that I mentioned earlier are a part of that Homeland Security Task Force Southeast as well. We've actually been working with the Coast Guard since the summer on the uptick of things that have happened recently. As we reported out to the governor, the things that were going on, the additional heavy landings that we had over the January 1st holiday, in addition with the president's announcement on the 30,000 refugees coming to the United States, not necessarily to the state of Florida. The governor made that decision. And his leadership, he brought those agencies together, said, we're going to respond to this. We're going to do what's best for Florida. But again, it is a whole Florida. I mean, there are individuals that are going as far north into Orlando area that are released. So we know that people are going to their target destinations are typically Orlando, Central Florida, and also obviously Southeast Florida, specifically Miami-Dade.
And is that because they have relatives or sponsors, people they know? I would imagine
that's correct. That's the information and intelligence we're getting, is that, yes, they have relatives, friends, family that are in those areas.
So part of what the president had talked about is the people who are going to be eligible to stay must, according to his plan, must have those kind of sponsors or family members or someone. Kind of my read on it was specifically to care for them financially and with the resources. And if you extrapolate that out, it's so that they are not a burden, so to speak, on state resources or federal resources. So you have nothing really, though, to do, your people have nothing to do with trying to figure that part out, do you?
No, we don't have anything to do with that part. What we are designed to do, and I believe this is very important for all Floridians to know, is the governor and the Florida National Guard and those law enforcement agencies and health and human service agencies for the state of Florida are first and foremost to take care of Floridians. And we are going to do that. We're going to attempt to supplement the United States Coast Guard and help them on identifying and targeting vessels that are coming here illegally and are not a part of some type of legal or sponsored program. That is what we're out there trying to do. So that is our primary objective. That's our primary mission, and that is to protect the coastal waters of the state of Florida through the state of emergency and state declaration.
And the part of the executive order that activates the Florida National Guard, are you coordinating the National Guard as well, or is that a separate component?
Yeah, so we are coordinating the Florida National Guard. So when we activate the Florida National Guard and the law enforcement agencies, for instance, myself, Mark Glass, the commissioner of FDLE, the TAG, the Adjutant General, James Eifert, we work together. In fact, we had a call just yesterday where we coordinate our efforts and make sure that we're all on the same sheet of music and that we are working and providing information and intelligence back to the U.S. Coast Guard. Again, our goal is, and the governor's goal, is to identify people that are coming to the United States, specifically Florida, illegally, and then vector that information back over to the Coast Guard, and then have Coast Guard cutters or Coast Guard boats head to that and intercept that vessel that's coming here illegally.
So it is fair to say that state and federal resources are coordinated and working together. Would that be valid?
Yes, and we do that all the time. And I don't want that to sound foreign. If you remember back to Surfside a year and a half ago, federal, state, and local government came together bipartisan and worked through things. As we had Hurricane Ian, as we had Hurricane Nicole, the Florida Division of Emergency Management is a bipartisan agency. We are here to serve the Floridians of the state of Florida, no matter what the issue is and what their need is. The governor's leadership, he has done a lot of bipartisan work in the public safety arena, and he will continue to do a lot of bipartisan work in the public safety arena. But again, what's first and foremost to the governor, myself, and the agency heads that are working this is the safety of all Floridians. That's what's first and foremost.
Director, I have two more questions and we are up against a break. Will you indulge me to stick around for just a couple more minutes and we'll come right back?
Absolutely.
Great, thanks. Stay with us. We are back talking with Kevin Guthrie, who is the director of Florida's Division of Emergency Management, and more immediately this morning, for our purposes, the point person for new state directives and helping the Florida Keys all up the coast, the entire state of Florida, in this unfolding migrant disaster. Director Guthrie, I wanted to just go back to something we were talking about, the Florida National Guard activation. Specifically, in the governor's executive order, it suggests that there will be air support and some water support, Florida Fish and Wildlife component to support them. Does this mean this sort of suggests a focus that the National Guard will be looking to interdict? Is that fair?
No. So the Florida National Guard is dedicated to Lakota helicopters to Key West. One of those helicopters is already on station and will be working hours that plug into the state of Florida's air flight schedule. I'm not exactly sure when they're going to be actually up and flying, but nevertheless, they are going to be a part of that state ongoing mission. There's one fixed wing aircraft from the Florida Highway Patrol, from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission, and 2 additional helicopters as of right now from the Florida National Guard. All of those aircraft are designed to do one thing, and that is just to detect. And then we will radio those coordinates into both the U.S. National Guard, the U.S. Coast Guard, and to the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission surface vessels that are there in the Keys. So that is what their job is and their role is. Right now, it's just the 2 helicopters. It is a planning unit. There is a possibility that if the FWC needs additional, hands on the boats, that we may use the Florida National Guard for that. But right now, that has not been decided, and we'll find out about that more in the coming weeks.
And so that would be a turnover situation. Your intel, that intelligence goes to Coast Guard or Border Patrol or whoever takes it from there.
Right. We want to give that information to the United States Coast Guard. They are the lead agency. They are the agency that is charged with protecting the United States coastline. So we will provide, if we find or see something in the water, we'll investigate it. We will then turn those coordinates over to the U.S. Coast Guard and have them respond to the area and take lead jurisdictional authority.
So I want to go back to something you said earlier in the first block. We were talking about how the governor and the state is taking a real role in what is typically a federal issue because of the impact to the state of Florida. And the relocation of Venezuelans last fall, but with state resources from the border to Martha's Vineyard to Massachusetts, that really put a spotlight on a new state plan and policy to be able to take migrants who land illegally and transport them out of state using state resources. The money is there for it. Do you know, has there been any sort of eye toward the people coming in now, relocating those people to other states? What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, what I can tell you is I have not been involved in those conversations. That money is over at the Florida Department of Transportation, and that program is run by the Florida Department of Transportation. And you will notice that I did not list them in the list of agencies that are involved in this particular incident. You also notice that while the governor calls out that I can have any agency assist, there is no specific direction in the executive order for the Florida Department of Transportation like there is, for example, in the Florida National Guard. So again, I would have to turn you over to Secretary Perdue for any comment on that. But at this point in time, the Department of Transportation is not involved in this particular incident that we're working right now.
Okay, great. We absolutely will be following up on that. Lastly, real quickly, a lot of people know that Florida had sent a lot of resources to help Texas and what Texas was going through with the border issues. Spent some money, a lot of man and woman power. Are you going to expect Governor Abbott in Texas and the state of Texas to be reciprocating, returning the favor, sending in resources for Florida?
I will say right now, I did talk to Nim Kidd, who is my counterpart over in Texas, just to check in and see how they were doing after the hurricane season, as well as any mass migration, best practices, if you will. But Nim and his team are fully engaged at the southwest border. I do not believe that the Texas Department of Public Safety will be able to send us any resources right now, because obviously we're seeing numbers in the thousands. They're seeing numbers in the hundreds of thousands and millions. So I would not expect the Texas Department of Public Safety or the Texas Division of Emergency Management to send people over here. I will say this, that Nim Kidd and his team did send us personnel for Hurricane Ian. And they sent about 30 people, give or take, to us to help us out with that response. So again, they have reciprocated through Hurricane Ian. I don't necessarily think they'll be able to reciprocate through this particular event that we're working now.
Understood. Still unfolding. Director Guthrie, so much on your plate, and we are so grateful that you spent some minutes with us today. And we'll be hounding you a little bit in the next week or so. Thanks again.
Right. Thank you.